Good afternoon and welcome to today's session 2 panel. My name is Alejandra Hernandez and I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on traditional Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee homelands along the southwest shores of Michigami, North America's largest system of freshwater lakes where the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnic rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin's sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present. I serve as an environment fellow for the Kresge Foundation and on the planning committee for today's workshop. The previous panel, wow, they grounded us in the history and of forced and unjust displacement in this country, the incarceration of Japanese Americans in internment camps, the structure of settler colonialism that is not an event, but a structure that seeks to erase people, the continuous tearing of people from the lands that they love. The panel put it very beautifully that the healing of the land and the people are intertwined. We are still grappling with these legacies of injustice, and they are injustices compounded by other events, such as human-induced climate change and an ongoing pandemic. There are a growing number of people and communities that have been hurt and displaced by climate-fueled disasters, from heat waves, hurricanes, flooding, wildfires, and the list goes on. Climate change puts everyone at risk, but it hits hardest on those who are already vulnerable, those who suffer social, economic, and health disparities. This year, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released a report that tells us that we will hit 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming in the next 2 decades. This means that the impacts of climate change will be exacerbated and will harm people and places that we love. The good news is that we can keep the warming from going beyond the 1.5 degree threshold if there's rapid and large-scale reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. In today's session titled Climate Change Displacement and Population Resilience, we invite our 2 speakers to touch on how climate change contributes to displacement and what their work shows us about how certain communities, neighborhoods, or places are more resilient to climate change impacts. I will start by introducing our 2 esteemed panelists. Then I'll ask them a check-in question and turn the mic over to our speakers to present, and finally leave time for some dialogue and Q&A from the audience. Please feel free to drop in questions in the chat box, and I'll bring up the questions to our speakers during the Q&A session.